87,200 people filed claims against the Boy Scouts of America for sexual abuse. 87,200. Most of these will never stand inside a courthouse. Most will never get to say out loud in front of anyone what was done to them. Today's guest is one of these people. Every December, Shannon Ray Cooper puts on a Santa suit and walks into children's hospitals and Head Start programs. He visits middle schools and sits with children who have never even heard of Pearl Harbor, and he makes sure they never forget. He is a Navy veteran, a historian who spent years tracking down Pearl Harbor survivors and telling their families because he believed their voices deserved to live on. He is a survivor of childhood sexual abuse from the Boy Scouts of America, who wrote a book called Monsters in My Tent. The full truth of what was done to him in his own words, on his own terms, can be found in his forthcoming book. He is a man who knows what it means to have your story taken from you, who decided to spend his life making sure no one else's voice was taken. Sitting with him today, I kept coming back to something I know to be true, and that is that the only thing we can truly control is our voice and how we use it. Every other form of justice depends on someone else, a verdict, a ruling, a system deciding you're worth believing. But your voice, that's yours. Today's conversation is about survival, about writing to heal, about what it looks like when someone turns pain into purpose, not just once, but every single year for most children who need it most. I'm glad you're here for this one. I am JoDee Neil, a former prosecutor, a survivor, and the author of Outcry Witness. This is Outcry Witness Unspoken, where we say what the system won't. Shannon Ray Cooper is a Navy veteran who served in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. He is also a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And through his book, Monsters in My Tent, he is speaking for the 87,200 Boy Scouts of America claimants who will never get the chance to tell their truth in a courthouse. Shannon, welcome to Outcry Witness. I'm so glad you're here. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. What is your name?
Shannon Ray Cooper.
Shannon Ray Cooper.
Yep.
How many years young are you today?
I am 64. I'll be 65 in August.
Wow, 65. And I see you've got a new piece of machinery here to show us.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to walk again with my prosthetic. I got an infection in my bones and stuff, and they had to amputate below the knee and stuff. But
yeah,
it's a learning process, you know.
Well, we're here today because you are a survivor.
Well, that's for sure. I've been a survivor since the day I was born, you know.
Wow.
Because I was born 2 months premature. I weighed 1 pound 8 ounces when I was born.
Oh my goodness.
And the doctor didn't think I was going to make it. The doctor told my mom to put a name down on it so he can put on the death certificate because he didn't think I was going to make
goodness.
it. But I proved him wrong.
Every time we have a conversation, you share with me something that just blows my mind about your life.
Yeah, I'm really shocked too because I had so many different good opportunities that kind of erased some of the bad some of the bad things in my life. I lived in Las Vegas for like 21 years. I worked as an EMT. Help save my life.
You were an EMT too?
For 21 years, yeah.
Well, let's start. First, I want to thank you for your service. You served in Desert Storm and Desert Shield.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
For the United States Navy?
Yes.
And you've also written a book about Pearl Harbor.
Exactly. My very first book, I wrote about Pearl Harbor survivors and their family stories because I read a lot of different Pearl Harbor books and they were all missing something. They were missing like the personal touch. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make it more personal and that way people can kind of like relate better to the people, the individuals, and what they went through and stuff like that. And I got the opportunity to interview like 6 Pearl Harbor survivors. They're all passed away now, but it was incredible to get the opportunity to do that. And then I've been to Pearl Harbor 7 times. All by ship. I've never flown there. I've always gone by ship.
No way.
So I've been to Hawaii 7 times.
No way. I mean, I don't even know how you make that happen. I mean, wow. That's like something you would expect to hear from the vice president, you know?
Exactly.
Well, we are here today. I'm so grateful that you came here to Dallas from Oklahoma to discuss a pretty serious issue,
Yes.
and that is the 87,200 survivors who are classified as claimants
Exactly.
in the Boy Scouts of America bankruptcy.
I agree.
And we could talk so much about Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I could talk to you all day, but we're really here to talk about your role in the Boy Scouts of America bankruptcy. And what is that?
Well, we became a claimant on 2020. Is that right? 2020. Yeah, 2020. They started the bankruptcy. At first I thought it was going to be like a class action suit, like a lawsuit, and so that's the reason why I got on board with it. But the whole thing has never been about money. It's always been about accountability. And the thing about it is, I just wanted the Boy Scouts of America to be accountable for what they did, because not only are the leaders, some of the leaders, perpetrators, but also the councils and some of the charters that actually allowed it to go on and just kind of like brush it underneath the rug.
Yeah.
They for so many years. We're talking about, if you go all the way back to the 30s, there was like a newspaper article about they started doing a perversion files back then.
Yeah.
And it was all like hush hush and secretive. And
and I'd love to talk to you about the perversion files specifically. And
yes.
I want to put a tab in that. When you say that you thought it was a class action, did you think that you would have an opportunity at some point to actually say the truth about what had happened to you?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wanted like an impact statement. Yeah, I wanted kind of like, so to speak, I wanted to have my day in court. That way I could hold the people that are accountable and make them acknowledge what they did.
Right.
And I'm sure you and I both know that the legal system doesn't always work in the favor of the victim,
No, and your expectation versus reality. You didn't get a chance to say the truth about what happened to you. What did you get instead?
Well, I got a chance to, I know this sounds weird, reach out and network with other survivors. There's like several Facebook groups that are like Boy Scout survivors. Mm-hmm. And my heart goes out to those guys, because there's a lot of people that just can't deal with it, can't deal with the emotional abuse and the physical abuse and the sexual abuse. It's just too much for them to bear. But you get to a point where you have to put it out of your head, and you have to like lie to yourself and tell yourself, well, this really didn't happen. I'm just to get through everyday life. And like I said, I've always set like goals for myself. And like I said, my main goal was I wanted to go in the military. I wanted to serve in the Navy, because I had so many different family members that were in the Navy, and I figured, this is my dream job. This is something that I really want to do and excel at it. Unfortunately, the alcoholism kind of like took over, and the military, it really doesn't help you with people that drink, because they kind of encourage that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially when you're out at sea for so many days, and you get back in the port, you want to go out there and go crazy and live it up and stuff like that. But I like overdid it. Is what I did was, and it almost ruined my career.
So you're in recovery too?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How many years of sobriety do you have?
It's been probably at least 40 years. Yeah.
Wow.
But
what an accomplishment.
But the Navy, they put me through rehab.
Yeah.
And because they almost kicked me out of the Navy, and then I basically got to with my commanding officer, and I begged him. I told him my story and told him what happened to me, and he was a little bit more understanding and said, well, we're going to get you help so you can get over this, get through this, and because I don't want to ruin your Navy career and stuff like that. So I was so thankful that he was there for me and did that for me, and then I got to a point where I actually started running a AA program on my ship and on base and stuff like that, and became like a sponsor and helped other alcoholics.
It seems as though there has never been a time in your life when you weren't serving others.
Well, that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about.
I think you get the most blessings by giving back.
Well, so back to the bankruptcy system. So in the bankruptcy system, you don't have an opportunity to give a victim impact statement, do you?
No.
In fact, there's no forum in a courtroom where you get to say what happened to you, how it affected your life, and how you want to protect children in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So you described that you have figured out a way to deal with basically being silenced by the bankruptcy system.
It really is, yeah.
And how have you chosen to deal with this really injustice in your life?
Well, I just, like I said, I mean, it is what it is. And I mean, the only thing that was really bad about the whole bankruptcy thing is because we had to write down the statement of the abuse, give them in details of what happened to us and stuff like that. And that was kind of like opening up an old wound, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been an emotional roller coaster, it really has.
So there was a form that you filled out where they wanted you to write out what happened to you?
It was, in a way, it was kind of like an impact statement, but it was just for the lawyer, for the attorneys.
I see.
And the trust.
And so...
Even like when I did that, they were like really shocked. They were like kind of like taken back, like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize your story was that bad," you know.
Well, was that the beginning of your book, Monsters in My Tent?
Exactly, yeah.
So,
and the reason why I came up with that name was, I protected my mom at all costs because I was threatened by my perpetrators. They told me that if I ever told my mom that they would kill her, so I was afraid for her life. So I protected her. But I mean, almost immediately, I started having nightmares. I had problems with like wetting the bed. I just, and my mom would come in the middle of the night when I'd have a nightmare. I mean, like horrific nightmare, like reliving the whole incident again. And she'd be like, "Well, honey, what were you having a nightmare about?" The only thing I could say was monsters in my tent. So that's the only.
Oh, wow. Wow. So and the first institution who provided access to a perpetrator was the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So first it was the Catholic Church. Yes. It was a priest. You were an altar boy.
Yes.
And then what happened next was under the umbrella of the Boy Scouts.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How much do you feel like sharing about what happened to you?
Well, I don't want to give too much away because I don't want people to buy my book
right.
and read my story. But
of course,
it was basically we were away at summer camp. I had two leaders.
And this was in California.
California, yes. And we went out to like Sonoma, California. It's a beautiful area. And we're there for like a week, And then the night before this happened, our leaders gave us all like Kool-Aid to drink. And normally us boys would make our own drinks or Kool-Aid and cook our food and stuff like that. But they gave us all Kool-Aid. And I remember afterwards like feeling sleepy and feeling kind of groggy and so I really think that they drugged the whole entire troop. Because what was weird was like when I was finally going to sleep in my tent, and I had like a 5-man tent, and I shared it with my best friend, and his name is Pete. Normally you would hear like boys cutting up and laughing and carrying on and like all throughout the night, and where you couldn't get that much sleep, but it was like quiet as a church, So that was kind of suspicious too, but I was so out of it. I was definitely like in what they call REM sleep, I was like just, and we got ambushed in the early morning hours. And the ironic thing about the whole thing is, and I totally forgot all about it, but it was on my birthday. It happened on my that's why I remember that date forever. It's August 18th, 1973. Next thing I know, we're abruptly like woken up in our sleep. We were both handcuffed behind our backs. Our underwear was cut off, and basically put in our mouths to silence us. And we're both sodomized. We're both raped repeatedly. And we're just devastated, And I think the whole thing is just being shocked and not knowing what was going on. it's like, what the heck is happening here? You know what I mean? I was just so devastated and emotionally just spent, you know what I mean?
Right.
As a matter of fact, the pain was so incredible that I had an out-of-body experience where I was actually looking above us and seeing everything take place.
Yeah. So I'm sure you know now that is called disassociation. It's a survival tool that we've developed, human beings, over, as long as we've been alive.
Yeah, that was strange, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. And I mean, how do you feel sitting here telling me this today?
Well, I really think that every time you do tell it makes it a little bit easier. It kind of like takes some of the burden off of it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think for a lot of years I kept it silenced. I kept it from everybody because I think I was ashamed, and I somehow I felt that was my fault. But I'm the one that did this,
Of course.
or caused it to happen to me. My poor friend Pete, he was just like a basket case.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he 2 weeks later he committed suicide. I got him in my karate class with me. He actually hung himself with his karate belt in his closet.
That you were only 11.
Yeah.
And he took his own life when he was 11?
11 years old, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was my best friend. He was a kid that I protected.
Right.
So, I mean, in a way, I had survivor's guilt for a long time too, because I thought, maybe there's something I could have done to protect him, but I mean, we're both victimized at the same time, so it was like there was nothing I could do.
And they threatened your mother's life. And was this the incident where there was also a weapon?
Yeah, they actually showed a weapon. They had a pistol, and they put it like right next to my face, the cold gun right next to my face, and told me that if you tell your mom or tell anybody, we will kill you and kill your mom.
And this was in the initiation tent at Boy Scout camp?
Yes, yeah. And I was scared to death.
Was initiation tent, what did you think the initiation tent was as a child?
Well, the thing about it, I think I was like really confused, because I think my mind wasn't developed enough to like process what they were doing, and they told me that was part of the Boy Scouts. It was part of the initiation that we don't talk about what we do here, because your parents won't understand, because it's a Boy Scout thing. It was kind of like a clandestine type of thing, like and they said that it's necessary in order to be a Boy Scout, you have to go through this initiation. And they would like perform fellatio and do all that stuff on us as boys. We'd all be all lined up in this tent, and and you have confusion, and you have all these emotions going on, and you're like, really confusion, you know what I mean? But yeah, they slowly built up to this, you know what I mean? They would like bring alcohol. They'd bring like beer and say, well, your parents won't let you drink beer, but we will, because we're your buddy, you know what I mean? And they would bring pornography and say, hey, you want to look at women? Here you go, check it out, and
Print magazines?
Yeah, magazines like basically like Penthouse and Playboy and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
and this was, they acted like this was a Boy Scout rite of passage.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that nailed it right there. Rite of passage. Yeah.
So this wasn't just a couple of bad actors who took advantage of a situation in a troupe. This was a systemic.
Yeah. These guys were seriously grooming us. And then come to find out later on, I did extensive investigation on this stuff too. Kind of like infiltrated the Boy Scouts as a leader. And the reason why I became a leader is because my boys wanted to be in the Boy Scouts. And I told them, I said, the only way you're going to be in Boy Scouts is I have to be your leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it upon myself to be proactive in the Boy Scouts as a leader. And I was a watchdog. Anything inappropriate or anything even remotely not right, I stood up and said, no, we're not doing that. This has got to stop. And then when I moved to Oklahoma, I became a member of the American Legion, and I told them, I said, if you guys need help with the Boy Scouts, I said, I'm all here. I got experience and everything like it. So they made me a charter organization representative, and that's like an executive position. And that's the guy that actually oversees all the background checks. I have to make sure that whoever becomes a part of our troop goes through all the, the hoops and make sure that they're,
Right.
yeah.
Now, you mentioned the perversion files. Perversion files, that's an actual term used to describe what?
Perversion files are also called the red flag files too. Apparently
The red flag files.
exactly, yeah.
That's what the Boy Scouts call
Well, yeah,
them.
with a red flag, like if there's any kind of incident or any kind of accusations made against a leader, they document it and they keep it on file. However, where the Boy Scouts of America failed the system and failed the boys is that they never reported anybody. They just kept it to themselves and kept it secret.
Right. So the perversion files, these are actual paper files.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That were in file folders that were kept at headquarters?
Headquarters, yeah, which is actually here in Texas. It's in Texas. I think it's in Irvine, Texas. I think is where the Boy Scouts of America headquarters is. Yeah, that's where they kept all the files.
So when did you first discover the actual contents of the files? Was it through the bankruptcy?
No, actually, to be honest with you, back in 1989, I had met through the Boy Scouts because I was leader of Senator Harry Reid. His sons were in the Boy Scouts, and I was their leader. So we became really good friends. And I told him that I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something substantial to hold accountability and have these men, these prospective leaders, go through background checks. I said that it needs to be more strenuous. It needs to be more regimented and regulated and stuff like that. So he made the path for me to become a lobbyist and go to Washington D.C. And I told my story just like the version I told you guys, which is kind of like a Reader's Digest version. You know what I mean? To Congress, and I told them the importance that we need to mandate and have mandatory background checks.
Yeah.
So, and then plus I also worked on the original, what they call youth protection program. I did that. I at the time I was affiliated with the Mormon Church, only because of my second wife, because she was in the Mormon Church, and that's how I got involved in the Scouts. And I never did see anything negative or anything, bad at all about the Mormon Church and stuff like that. Everything was all positive. But they allowed me to work on this program, and I taught youth protection for like 20 years. I taught kind of like teachers, trainers. I taught them how to, and basically what it is just guidelines on how to report. Like I say, if a child comes up to you and say, my leader's touching me inappropriately, or he's doing this, or making me feel uncomfortable, or then there was certain guidelines on how you report it. There's a protocol.
Protocols.
Exactly. And that's what I was one of the pioneers in getting that done.
So that's a part of your healing too, is advocacy.
Oh, that was so awesome to be able to do that, because it was just so, I don't know what word to use. It was just, it was great to be.
To testify at a legislative hearing is a really momentous occasion for a human being. You feel like you really matter.
It was really awesome.
And that you're really fighting for people.
Exactly.
And I found that there's a lot that we can survive if we feel like we are going to help people through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you discover in the perversion files anyone's name that you knew?
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting story too, because when I started with the bankruptcy and stuff like that, they wanted us to try to research and find out our information, our scout records and stuff like that.
The bankruptcy wanted you to search through the perversion files to find your perpetrator?
To find our scout records, to find proof that we're in the Boy Scouts and stuff. Even though they did have investigators and stuff like that. And the thing about it is, I called my counsel there in California, And they said, well, we after 10 years, we destroyed the boys' files. But yet they kept these perversion files since the 30s. They keep the bad people's files, but us boys' records, it's like they destroy them because they didn't want them to be able to prove they were in the Boy Scouts.
But thank goodness they did keep the bad people's files.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Did you find a bad person?
Yeah, I did, and it's kind of
Who was that?
It's a weird story because I lived in a little town called Carmichael, but my Boy Scouts was through Sacramento, California, and his name is David Pease, is his name, and come to find out that he had accusations against him before I even met him, and they told him that they didn't want him to be a leader anymore. So he resigned on paperwork, put a letter of resignation in February 1973, but still continued. As a matter of fact, the Boy Scouts of America allowed him to continue. They said, until we get another leader, you can still be the leader. But,
so you were kind enough to send me the perversion file on David Pease, and at the end of the file, which is about 10 pages, and we're going to scroll it for the viewers, there's a report about what happened to, and names redacted, to 2 boys. And what you're telling me is that happened about 8 months before your birthday.
Exactly, yeah.
Which, if the Boy Scouts had done what they were supposed to do, which is get him off the streets, so to speak, get him out of the tents, you would not have survived these horrors at the hands of David Pease.
In my opinion, I think that's inexcusable. I mean, they really dropped the ball. They should have reported it. They should have made sure he was completely removed from the Scouts, completely.
Because that's what the file says they did.
Yeah, exactly.
It says
so it's on paperwork.
He resigned for personal reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
And this person's no longer allowed to be a Boy Scout leader.
But yeah, he still continued doing it. You know what I mean?
What was his capacity? Like, was he the boss?
Well, he was just a scout master.
Just a scout master.
Yeah.
So he got demoted, but still had access to
exactly. So
how did you feel when you saw his name on that document for the first time?
I was shocked because I was like, oh my God, he should have been gone. He should have been out of the picture, you know what I mean?
That is an injustice that is almost more than the human mind can take on.
Yeah.
Like, did you just feel rage or confirmation? What was it?
You hit that right too. It was rage at first.
Yeah.
Just like I told my wife too. I said, I think as a kid, I think if I would have been able to get my hands on a weapon, I probably would have done harm to them. You know what I mean? Because I was just so I wanted to make them pay for what they did. You know what I mean? But then I started thinking about that. That's not the right way to handle things. You know what I mean? And I was hoping that eventually they would, the criminal justice system or something like that would punish them, and they would be held accountable for their actions. Because I'm sure, I know for a fact I'm not the only person that was their victim,
Of course. And every survivor that I've ever sat with, not one has cared about the money, not that there is any, but
yeah, exactly.
Really even prison time. What they want the most is to protect other kids.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you believed that so long as that man was breathing air on this planet out in the open, he was a threat to other kids.
Yeah, I'm totally all about protection. And even now, the bankruptcy allowed them to continue on, but now they're called Scouting in America now.
Right.
They're not the Boy Scouts of America. But in my opinion, I really think that the abuse is still going to keep going on.
Yeah.
The only thing is now they're going to have a whole different target. They're going to have now girls and transgenders and all that stuff. They're going to be able to victimize them too. So they just have a variety of victims now. Right. And in my opinion, I think the Boy Scouts of America should be shut down completely.
And one of the issues that I'm seeing from a professional level is the avoidance of accountability. For
for children to be safe, the institution has to be honest about the role that they played and admit their failures in handling it once they knew.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you've seen the Boy Scouts documentary on Netflix, and there's one documentary and there's 2 books that have been written about this. Yours will be the 3rd.
Yeah.
Does that come anywhere close to the level of accountability that you would hope for an institution the size of the Boy Scouts?
Not at all. You know, the thing about it is they, instead of enacting and reporting like they should have, they just like, you know, the whole thing was protecting the institution, protecting the Boy Scouts, protecting their reputation. Maybe they were afraid they were going to lose their job, or maybe they were afraid their reputation was going to make them look bad, so they just kind of like buried it in these files.
Right. Well, and in the bankruptcy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the bankruptcy system is meant for wheels and widgets. You know, it's not meant for human beings.
No.
And not only did they provide, the bankruptcy system provided cover to the Boy Scouts, but all of these tentacles, right?
Yeah.
You can't bring a civil lawsuit anywhere for what happened to you.
Exactly. Yeah, they're protected. Yeah, under the umbrella of the bankruptcy. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why they did that, because they're trying to avoid prosecution. They're trying to avoid accountability, because then they would have to admit that, hey, we made a mistake. We were wrong.
Right.
You know, I did get the opportunity in 1989, after I did all this stuff with youth protection, with my bishop. I told him what happened to me and stuff like that. And he arranged a private meeting with the Scout executive there in Las Vegas. And I told him what had happened to me. And he did give me a heartfelt apology. He really did. He said, "I'm so sorry for what happened to you. I had no clue this stuff was going on." You know, he was like oblivious to what was going on.
Right, right. And, you know, like any criminal, you know, criminals who deal in illicit drugs, they don't talk about the drugs in front of people that don't do drugs.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, there is a lot of secrecy, even out in the open, as you've seen.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. So were you ever able to disclose when you were a child, or was your first disclosure when you were in the military?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, it was bothering me so much that I had to tell somebody. So, of course, part of my experience with the Catholic Church, I actually went to a Catholic church and went to a confessional, and I told a priest, told him the whole everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know what I mean? The whole entire story. And he basically told me that I have to find a way in my heart to forgive them. You know, there was no like, "Oh, I'm sorry it happened to you, my son," or "You'll get through it." He never gave me any kind of thing to help me. He just wanted to help. He wanted to help them. So that really makes me kind of.
And also did not report.
Yeah, exactly. And he should have. You know?
I mean, look, it doesn't matter what robe you're wearing or whether you're a lawyer. You have to report child abuse.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're saying you went when you were a child?
Yeah.
You went when you were a child?
I was like 13 years old at the time, and I think I was trying to make my way back into the Catholic Church. You know what I mean? Trying to,
right?
Because I kind of felt like at home with them to a certain point. And that's why I went to the confessional, because I thought, well, this guy's going to save me. He's going to give me some absolution. He's going to give me some good advice. He's going to make me feel better about myself. And I just kind of like walked away from that kind of feeling, like empty and lost. Like, what was that? That didn't help me at all. I mean,
disposable.
Huh?
Disposable.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, I personally have forgiven my perpetrators, but not for them, but for me, so I can move on with my life, because it is not healthy to keep that inside, and that grudge and that hatred. You have to get it out there. And I really think a lot of these guys that are going through this bankruptcy, and unfortunately, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody, but some of these guys, they just can't deal with it. They just can't deal with the bitterness and the anger and you know what I mean? They need to learn how to let it go.
I understand there has been a lot of just dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease among the survivors.
And
It's like a cancer. It's like slowly eating them. You know what I mean?
right. And a lot of that seems to be because there has never been an opportunity for anyone just to be acknowledged as human beings.
Exactly. You know, that's a good point too, because I do want to tell you too, I am working on a second book already. And this is what I want to do. I want to be a catalyst for these guys to be able to tell the story and do an impact statement in my book, my next book. I'm going to call it Stolen Innocence.
I love it.
You know, and that way it gives them the opportunity to tell their story and get it out there. And, you know, and if some of those guys want to change their name or whatever,
Sure.
you know, I'll do that to protect their identity, you know, because I'm sure there's some people that, you know, there's so many people that are just caught up on their, you know, their reputation and influence on the world, stuff like that. But I like I said, I want to give them opportunity to tell their story.
And I so respect what you're doing. You know, I wrote a book, Outcry Witness, A Former Prosecutor's Guide to Healing Injustice. And what we know from trauma research, thanks to veterans who came back from Vietnam, really, is that it's the disclosure, it's the saying your pain out loud with a witness.
Exactly.
That is what really starts the process of healing.
Yeah, that's why I want to give them opportunity to heal. You know what I mean?
Opportunity to heal.
I think if we get their stories out there, they can feel better about themselves and they can move on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I wrote my book to tell my story and also to help other survivors and anybody that can that can relate to this and get some kind of good from something bad that happened, something horrific that happened. I want to try to, you know, make things a little bit easier for people and something that's relatable and people can understand and be like, well, I can relate to that, you know, or, you know, I mean, there's certain things that's why my book, I wanted to write, you know, about the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, just the, you know, kind of like emotional roller coaster, you know, ups and downs.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, it's an injury to the soul when a crime has happened on your body. And you can heal from it, but it really takes a lot of courage to take the first step.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I agree, yeah.
In terms of the bankruptcy proceeding, did you know that yesterday the trustee filed a document basically telling the court that he needs help? You know, the trustee has gotten so many really upset communications from survivors, families about the process, the amounts. Everyone's saying it's not about the money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about the respect.
Well, yeah, I mean, when some of these guys they're too focused on the money, and like I told my wife, I said it's not about the money. I mean, yeah, if they throw us a little bit of money, and the thing about it is, any money that I get, I'm using that to help other people too. As a matter of fact, part of the money that I'm getting from the settlement is going towards my book.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like poetic justice.
Yeah.
So the Boy Scouts are actually paying for my book.
Well, honestly, they should be paying for your book because Stolen Innocence, that's your next title.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a service basically to the bankruptcy proceeding.
Exactly, yeah.
And you know, it would cost the government almost nothing to simply open a courtroom, you know, every Friday, and survivors can have appointments and come in and have an hour or two to provide a victim impact statement.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. I think that would be
so
therapeutic. Easy. That would help them so much to get it out there, because you have to get it out of your system. You have to. And
then there'd be a transcript.
Exactly.
And then they could take a beat.
It'd be documented, yeah.
Be documented, and then they could go to the next phase, which is working with you to create a manuscript. I think we've solved the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wonder if we could do that. You know, we could probably, you know, that one guy, Curtis, he's like an advocate, and I wonder, you know, he's got a lot of experience with the court system too. I wonder if there's some way we could arrange this, you know, have this done.
I say we work on it. I'll whip something up.
I think so too.
Yeah,
you know?
and we'll send them this episode.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Well, back to you know, your real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can solve this bankruptcy problem in a heartbeat. I think we already have.
Exactly.
Let's talk about. Okay, so we know from the Centers for Disease Control that 45% of all adult American women will have survived a contact sexual violence in their lifetime.
That's sad.
And 1 in 6 men
according to the Centers for Disease
I think
Control.
it's higher. It's got to be higher than that.
You think it's
I
higher?
think a 1 in 4 at least. Because
Tell me why are the disclosure rates for men lower than for women?
well, to be honest with you, I think, okay, like myself personally, I grew up in a generation where kids were seen and not heard. You know, that my biggest frustration with my parents is every time I try to express my opinion about anything, we don't want to hear it. They would shut you up, you know. We don't want to hear your opinion. We don't care about that, you know. So, and there's such a stigma in place with men coming forward, like, okay, when I was a little boy, you know, I was sexually assaulted, or I was emotionally assaulted, or physically assaulted. You know what I mean? You're told to like shut up and suck it up, Buttercup. You know, deal with it. You know, you're a man. You want to be a man, be a man. But that's not the way the world is supposed to be. I mean, you know, if you have an injustice done to you, you should have the outlet. You should be able to go to somebody and feel confident and tell them, and not be chastised from it. You know, that I really think that's the biggest thing. And to be honest with you, I think if 100% of the actual guys reported or got on board with this bankruptcy, it would be substantially higher.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many guys that are just so embarrassed, or you know, they just can't deal with it. You know, they're worried about their reputation. You know what? I don't care about my reputation. All I care about is helping kids not be sexually abused, or not be physically abused, or emotionally abused. You know, I want to be an advocate for them. I want to speak for them.
So there's a whole new, you know, I guess everyone sort of expects if you're a woman, you're going to be sexually assaulted. But there's another layer that is a barrier for male survivors, and that is being regarded as homosexual. And that is a whole nother layer of shame. Not that there's anything wrong with it. No one's saying there is, but to the survivor, from the survivor's point of view, if you're a male, you're going to have these extra layers that you have to work through so that you can say it.
And, you know, and I was worried about that all my life too, because I was thinking, man, you know, if more people know about this, you know, of course they're gonna assume or think that I was actively involved in it, that it was wanted.
You wanted it.
And it's not. It's nothing even. I mean, you know, you and I both know rape is about control.
Right.
It's not necessarily a sexual act, even though you know it can be involved in it. But I think most of them get their sexual release by controlling you, by controlling the whole situation.
Right. Exerting dominance, showing who's boss.
Exactly.
I'll show you.
And those two leaders, they were definitely homosexual. So that's, I mean, because they were married, they didn't have any girlfriends, they just hung out with each other. You know what I mean? So
the ones who hurt you were just single guys.
Single guys, yeah. As a matter of fact,
in charge of Boy Scouts.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, this is so insane why that was allowed in the first place. See, now I get Mama Bear.
Yeah.
For you. And I'm so sorry.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I just learned how to get through it. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's.
But really, has anyone ever sat with you and just sat in it and just said, "I'm so sorry"?
My wife has.
God bless Sandy.
Yeah, I mean, when she heard my story, she like cried and was there for me. And
how did it feel having one person?
I mean, she's really like the only, I mean, other than you, she's like really my only advocate that has come to my side and help me deal with all the emotions. And
yeah. And that's what makes you feel like you're a human being. Like you matter on this planet.
Yeah, exactly.
You're special. You exist.
I feel bad for anybody that has to go through it, being raped and stuff like that. I mean, and you know, another thing too, I really would like to do too. I think that every state in the United States needs to eliminate the statute of limitations.
Amen.
For rape, period. It should be like murder. Because I mean, if you think about it, when you get raped, they take away your life.
Agreed.
They really do.
I was just telling Curtis Garrison earlier today, I said, sexual assault is really attempted murder.
It really is.
And
yeah.
I'm seeing that more with the suicide rates and understanding the prevalence. The data is all coming together in a way that's painting the picture. What we've known, like, I bet you, Pete, was a victim.
Yeah.
Which he was. And now it's all making sense.
Yeah, it is.
But why do you think the statute of limitations needs to be abolished nationwide?
To be honest with you, I think it's like all political, and I know they're individual states, and you got so many different liberal people and so many different political views that people, we don't want to, do this to this person, that person, or this party or that party. And it's not about that. It should be about the survivors. It should be about the victims.
Right.
And I think that's inexcusable to have any kind of statute of limitations on anything,
Right.
especially against a child, especially.
If you're alive and still breathing air, you should still have to watch your back.
Exactly.
That the person you hurt is going to say the truth about what you did to them.
Yeah.
You should never get any relief.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations is passed. I'm in the clear.
And it's a broken system, too, because it basically protects the predators.
It really does.
They have more rights than the victims do. They really do.
By an order of magnitude.
Yeah, and that's not right. It's ethically and morally not right.
Right.
And that's what we have to. You and I and Curtis, we have to change this. We have to change the world.
We have to. It's.
And that's what I want to do with my book too. I want to get the message. This is just with you and stuff like this is just the start. I'm gonna be like a trailblazer. I want to go on every kind of. If I can get on a talk show, if I can do some more podcasts, I'm going to get my message out there, because I want to educate the world. You wouldn't believe how many people, they just carry on a conversation that they're oblivious of what the Boy Scouts did. They're like, what? I never heard about that, And another thing I've encountered too lately, when I go anywhere, like I'll give you an example here, when I stay here at the Hilton, the lady that checked me out, I told her I'm doing a podcast for my book, and she said, "Well, your book? What kind of book you have?" And so I briefly told her about my book, and she's like, "Oh my God, I want to read that." You know what I mean? But then you also get stories.
Yes.
People, they're like, "Man, I can relate to this because this happened to me, or this happened to my brother or my sister, or this happened to my family, and my uncle was doing this to me, or whatever."
So you've been the Outcry Witness.
Yeah,
There's so many others. It just happens.
It's
happens.
like
The
a wildfire.
Teller, the waiter. As soon as you open the door, that you're okay talking about this, you start getting outcries.
Yeah.
And that's what really compelled me to write my book.
Exactly, and people have to get comfortable with talking like that. I mean, this is
right.
And the thing about it is the news media apparently doesn't seem to think this is newsworthy. You know what I mean? To a point, because they're not used to guys coming forward and saying, hey, I was victimized when I was a child. Okay, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear. No offense to any women, but we want to hear about the women's side of the story. We don't want to hear we don't want to hear the guys suck it up. So it's back to that same, stigma of saying we don't want to hear it, but I want to make people hear it. I want them to hear it.
It's challenging the bias, and I'm sure you've encountered this a lot, because there are so many survivors that have not said the truth about what's happened to them. And when you're in that state, you can't handle the topic.
No.
And so you shut down everyone who even brings it up.
Exactly.
And that's really what I'm trying to fix with my book, is like, we've got to soften these edges so that there can be a truthful dialogue.
I agree. I really enjoy your book too, and I really am sorry for what happened to you. I mean, I know you went through some stuff too. You went through.
Well, you've been kind enough to share your manuscript with me, and I really appreciate what you've done.
I just hope that my book is going to be worthy of other survivors. I want them to be able to get something out of it. You know what I mean?
Now, your book right now is with the publisher.
Yes,
is that
exactly,
right?
Yeah. So you kind of got like the
advanced reader copy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, describe the feeling of, you've submitted your manuscript to your publisher. How do you feel now?
I forget. It's been like a 2-year journey. It took me 2 years to write a book, and like I said, I think the bankruptcy kind of helped to a point, because it was like ripping off the Band-Aid. Mm-hmm. We get all of a sudden we opened up a new wound, And it really has been an emotional roller coaster because you can, even my wife, she's seen me go through all kinds of emotions, writing this, and because you're like, when you write it, you relive it.
Yeah.
You're there at the moment, you know what I mean? And I think the way that I write personally is I want people to when they read it, they're there. You know what I mean? They can really see where I'm coming from, and they can actually visualize it.
Right. Time
And-
travel.
And I try to write it from a perspective of a child too. And then of course, you know, I progressed along when I was an adult and some of the stuff I went through. But the thing about it is, I sat down and I prayed about it. I said, God, I'm putting this into your hands. I want you to put the people in my path that's going to help me get this book published. And the very next day, I got a call from a publisher. And they said, we'd like to see your manuscript. And it was like a family-owned Christian publishing company and stuff like that. And they say, you know, we don't accept every book. You know, it has to meet certain guidelines and stuff like that. And then within like 3 days, they said your book is phenomenal. That was their exact words.
Yeah.
They said we want to publish this really, really bad. So it made me feel good, because it made me feel that what I did is for a purpose.
For a purpose.
You know, and people are gonna hopefully people are gonna get something out of it, and like I said, relatable. But right now we did the book cover is done, and then now it's going to editing now. So they're gonna do the editing, and they're gonna do the copy editing, and then my back cover and stuff like that. But it should be out by October if everything goes right. And then I'm gonna do my book launching. I like to be able to see if I can maybe come here and do a book launching here too.
I would love to have a
Yeah,
book
I mean,
launch for you. That would be
I just want. I mean,
incredible.
I just want. You're the only contact I have here. You're the only contact I have here in Dallas. You know what I mean? But I think that'd be good to get out there and launch my book and stuff like that, and get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an achievement, especially on this topic. I mean, there just comes a point where there's nothing more to do but just, you know, take the walls down
Exactly. Yeah.
and just shine, really.
You know, and that is really good about taking the walls down, because there's so many barriers and so many walls put up to protect the world, or protect, you know,
Yeah.
that we need to break that down. We need to break all that down and expose
Right.
the people that we want to expose. You know, all these perpetrators and all these pedophiles. And I mean, it's sickening how many thousands of pedophiles there are. I mean, the Catholic Church, they're like one of the main
Right.
perpetrators. I mean, for generations.
I mean, look, if you start doing the math, and only in the past 6 months or so have I actually been brave enough to say the reality, which is 57,780,000 adult women. Let's just that number, plus the 16, you know, the 1 in 6 men, all those perpetrators. I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at like almost 70% of the population. There has to be an inverse level of perpetrators out there too.
Exactly.
I mean, these aren't aliens coming down from outer space offending on people. These are other human beings walking among us.
Exactly.
And
I
I hate to break it to you,
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
So we got monsters amongst us.
Monsters
I mean,
among us.
That's really what they are. They really are monsters, and I think that's why I really hit it home with the title, you know, because they really were monsters on my chin, you know.
There really were. And the way that you've described how you came up with the title is so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, because it was like, man, it was a struggle as a child, because I mean, so many times I just wanted to I want to wrap my arms around my mom and tell her,
Yeah.
and cry on her shoulder, and have her comfort me and say, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, son, you know. But I was so worried that if I did tell her, she would either like treat me differently, or like overprotect me, or look at me in a different light, you know, look at me like, you know, he's not the same anymore, he's broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was probably the toughest battle that I had to do.
Did you
And
ever have a chance to tell
no,
her?
she died like 2 years ago. I finally told my stepdad, because I actually had to get an affidavit from him for the bankruptcy, proving that I was in the Scouts. And I told him, I said, you know, I never wanted to do this to you, but I'm going to have to drop this burden on you and tell you what happened to me and stuff like that. And he said, I have nothing but respect for you because you never told your mom. He said your mom couldn't have handled it.
Wow.
You know, because my mom was like one of those people that she probably would have tried to kill those guys.
Yeah.
She probably would have ended up getting harmed herself or ended up going to prison.
Right.
You know, and like I said, that was the hardest thing I had to do my whole entire life is keep silent with her. You know, the one person that you're supposed to be able to tell anything to is your mom. You know, and
But at least you felt like maybe your silence had value, I guess, because your
Yeah.
stepdad was kind enough to share that with you.
exactly. And you know, my mom was a young mom. I mean, she had me when she was 14 years old. So, and the thing about it is that the day that I got back, that got dropped off from camp, and I still forgot it was my birthday, you know. So I come home and my mom had a birthday hat on, had birthday cake for me, and I said I forgot it was my birthday, you know. So I had to like take and control my emotions and not tell her that I was upset about anything and be happy, kind of put on a happy face and pretend because of, you know, I just loved her to death because she did that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was one good thing about my birthday. At least she made it special for me, you know?
Mothers are, I
But-
think that's really what we all want at the end of the day is what you described. And
Yeah.
just to have your mom hug you and tell you that it's all okay.
Yeah, but she actually went to her deathbed not knowing, you know, and I mean, I feel relief that she didn't know, you know, because I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to like, but the thing about this, she died pretty quickly. It's not like I had a chance to like go by her bedside and say, hey, by the way, Mom, you know, when I was 13 years old, you know, I hate to drop this bomb on you,
Right.
but when I was 13 years old, I was, you know, raped or whatever. But I mean, I think it would have been even devastated to her even then. I mean, why do that to a person? You know, I mean, why not just cherish their love and cherish their memory
Right.
and not do that to them? You know what I mean? So
If you were able to say anything that you could right now to your mother, what would it be?
I'd be like, Mom, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you. You know, I should have been honest and told you. You know, because I had to lie to my mom, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to lie to my mom, but yeah, I think if I had a chance to do it, I would say I'm sorry that I couldn't come forward and tell you. You know, I didn't have the courage to tell you.
In your defense, I mean, some really bad men, and it wasn't just that. Wasn't that one time when you were
No.
11? It kept on happening.
Yeah, they actually came to my when my mom
Right.
was at work, and they came to me and assaulted me again.
Right. Again with a gun.
And to warn me, like, you better not say anything. And then they started talking bad things about Pete that killed himself. They said he was nothing but a, you know, weakling, and he couldn't handle what happened to him. And I got mad at him. And I basically told him, I said, you need to leave my apartment now. You need to get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? And that's why I stood up to him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I got him chased out of there.
Wow.
But that when he died, I mean, that devastated me because it was like, I was like shocked. I was like, there's no way he did that to himself. You know?
Oh, you thought that they had found him, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I was just,
No, how could you be sure? Of course not.
but
I mean, either way is terrible. I mean, oh my goodness. Is your perpetrator still alive?
you know, and that's not something I'm trying to find some obituary records on, because in 1973 he was 40 years old. So he's got to be like in his 90? He'll be like 90 something.
I'm sorry. Like how the Boy Scouts could let a 40-year-old single man go on campouts.
Yeah,
It's
not-
just
you
criminal.
know, and that's something my wife brought to my attention. She goes, that should have raised red flags right there.
Of course.
Two single guys want to become a Boy Scout leader. They didn't have any girlfriends or wives or anything.
Children
And I said,
or
well, you know,
children.
I was like, I didn't even think about anything. Like and I think the reason why my mom wanted me to go through that, because she was divorced. You know, she was a divorced mom. She was a single mom. So she wanted me to have some positive male influence. But that went out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we tend to give and it's very hard to accept that we are not safe when we give the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
to people or institutions. And, you know, obviously your mom wanted to believe the best. the Boy Scout, the motto is honorable.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And I struggled with that for a lot of years too, because I eventually, before I turned 18 years old, and we moved in a totally different city, and I kind of reevaluated things and stuff like that. I joined another troop, but I was still like really standoffish, and that I had trust issues. But my goal is I finally made Eagle Scout. I got my Eagle Scout. As a matter of fact, in order to be an Eagle Scout, you have to do a service project. And I did mine at the governor's mansion in California.
wow.
So I got a chance to meet Governor Harry Reid, or not Harry Reid, Jerry Brown, Governor Jerry Brown.
Ah.
And his girlfriend at the time was Linda Ronstadt. I got to meet her too.
Oh, I love her.
They actually had like a really nice when we got finished with the service project. They did like a really nice luncheon and stuff like that, like a barbecue for us, and it was and they gave me like a plaque and everything for the accomplishment of doing that and stuff like that. And then when I turned 18 years old, I was still in high school, so I actually joined the Sea Scouts, because you could be like 18 years old and be part of the Sea Scouts. So I worked my way through the Sea Scouts until I was like 19 years old, and I earned what would be equal to the Eagle Scout again in the Sea Scouts. It's called Quartermaster.
Oh, wow.
Quartermaster Award.
Okay.
So I basically earned like 2 Eagle Scouts. You know what I mean?
Wow. It's just, you've accomplished so much in your life.
And I think what I was trying to do is kind of erase the bad.
Yeah.
And try to bring the good up here and leave the bad down here, you know what I mean? And just try to achieve things, because I figured if I could achieve things, then I could be things, and I could be a better person, and I could, and like I say, you just have to learn how to let things go and just and forgive. You never forget, but it's healthy to forgive.
Choices, right? It's what do you need to do to be free?
Exactly.
And we're just trying to be free of this.
And I do feel free. That to this day I still have nightmares, and my wife calls me a human burrito, because I literally wrap myself in my blanket. It's like a protection thing, you know what I mean? I protect myself in my sleep, so because I'm so used to. Well, after that attack, I've done that all my life. It's like a survival coping device. But I wrap myself tightly in a blanket, and she calls me the human burrito, because she can't like get too close to me, because I'm just like really, I kind of get freaked out in my sleep if anybody touches me. Or
Very powerful evidence. That is evidence.
So I basically had post-traumatic stress disorder at age 12.
Of course.
But yeah, she's been a saint. She's really helped me deal with a lot of things. She really is.
Well, I have been so just overjoyed talking with you for the past hour.
I appreciate you allowing me to talk to you. You know what I mean? Because it's a conversation that people need to have. They really do. I mean, I know it's difficult. I know it's hard. I know it's emotional. But people need to hear the story. They need to hear the truth.
People need to hear the truth, and also people need to be witness to another person's humanity. That's what makes us good people. That's what feeds us, the goodness in us, is feeling someone else's pain.
Exactly.
And that's what humanity needs.
And you're doing a remarkable job. You're really getting things out there and getting things done, and that's what we need to do. We need to have a bulldog out there, somebody that's
Mama bear, right?
Exactly. That's a better better analogy. You're like a mama bear.
Mama bear. Yeah.
Protect your cubs,
And
all the cubs are all those children out there. You know what I mean?
All of them. I am a firm believer that there's no such thing as other people's children.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have children?
Yeah, I've got 4 kids, and we got 7 grandkids altogether.
Oh my goodness. They will be so proud. I'm sure they already are, but what you've done today is next level. I mean, this is enlightenment level disclosure. And I'm so just blown away by who you are.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate that. My wife even said that too. She said, I can't believe you accomplished so much and you overcame all these obstacles, And I see you got to survive. You know what I mean? If not, when you make the choice to become a survivor, you're no longer a victim. You're not victimized anymore. And you refuse to be a victim ever again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That is what it is. I've never heard anyone say that.
Yeah.
You shared some wisdom with me today.
Well,
I'm going to take that forward with me.
I think that's awesome. I know your book is going to like open a lot of doors and help a lot of people heal. You know what I mean? I really do.
Well, it's important to acknowledge the role that our faith has played in our survival.
Exactly.
And, a lot of people, there's anger too, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have God to thank for getting us through it. And for
Exactly.
us being here today, having this conversation in person.
I guarantee you, God opened this door for me to be here. You know what I mean?
100%.
I give him all the credit. You know, I really do.
100%.
Because without, my personal relationship, with Jesus Christ, I mean, I would be nothing. I would, I mean, that's got me through everything. And like I said, I keep trying to tell these guys and these groups, I said, you have to have the attitude of gratitude. You have to be thankful for what you got. Don't worry about what you don't have. I mean, they're too focused on the emotions and the money, and it's not about the money. I could care less about money. And like I said, if I do get money, I want to use it to help other people. I want to turn around and do good with it. I don't want to, and these guys have to think positive, And I told them, I said, if all of us got together and thought positive thoughts, then positive things will happen. I said, when you project negative energy out there in the universe, you're going to get negative energy back. When you project positive energy out there, you're going to get positive back. That's the way the universe works.
That's what the Bible says too.
Like manifesting. You know what I mean?
And it's important, and everything that we've discussed today proves my point, which is that we have got to release our idea of justice being something that happens just in a courthouse where there's a judge and a jury. Justice is something that we have to create and fight for. And that's what you've been able to do, and I've been able to do with our books.
Yeah, exactly.
And now the fight continues through all these different channels to create a system that is built on real justice and voices of survivors.
Yeah, we definitely need to do some things to change the system to make it more survivor friendly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And make these perpetrators and pedophiles pay for their crimes, and get some serious punishment out of it, and have repercussions and have consequences. But when they just get off like that, on a technicality, or because maybe a witness or something like that didn't come forward or something like that, it's devastating. It really is. I mean, we have to change things. That's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it. It's really the challenge to humanity.
Yeah, I really think we need to get a hold of our congressmen, our senators, and tell them, what we want to do, and have them help us get it accomplished. That's the only way we do it. We have to get them to be advocates for us. Kind of like recruit them and say, this is our cause, this is what we want to do. We got to change things. Yeah. As constituents, that's our right to be able to ask them to do their job.
That's why you fought in 2 wars for us.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We should all listen to what you have to say. Thank you so much for being here, Shannon Ray Cooper. It has been an honor being here with you today.
Same here. I am so honored to be here, and I appreciate having an opportunity to be a part of your podcast, part of your show, and part of your network now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much for being here. JoDee Neil signing off with Mr. Shannon Ray Cooper on Outcry Witness Unspoken. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If something in this conversation names something you've been carrying, that recognition is not an accident. You found this show for a reason. If you're ready to take a next step, visit JoDeeNeil.com. Outcry Witness is available now wherever books are sold. If this episode mattered to you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every share puts this conversation in front of another survivor who may not know yet that they're not alone. Until next time, keep speaking the unspoken.